2016 has been a great year for video games, with a range of new IPs, sequels to treasured franchises and outright reboots to franchises we believe to be dead. It's hard to compile into one list, but I've managed to do it. So here are Tagora TV's top 10 video games of 2016.
10.
At number 10 it's Doom. Doom has been a crazy ride of a series to follow from its beginning. Huge game and huge success in the mid to late 90s. It was kind of hard to see it coming back. When Doom 4 being cancelled by Bethesda, it was really looking like it was going to be the death of the franchise. So, what Bethesda decided to do was give it to id Software, recreate it as Doom, its own named game, not numbered as number 4 or anything like that, and it's been a hell of a ride to play. Bringing back the first-person shooter with the crazy maps that the original one had in the classic maps, but also making new ones that feature similar styles to the outright openness of them, the different paths you can go down, all the different collectibles you can find. It was an absolute blast to play through. The great soundtrack as well really kind of gave it another edge towards it. You know, it was a fantastic soundtrack to listen to. Really enjoyed playing my time with the game. Story was there, you know, if you wanted to look at it, but it was not something that I could really get into. And as someone that loves story, that's probably the reason why it's not as high up as it should be. And first-person shooters aren't really my kind of forte. So to get a game like Doom that really pleased me, that really satisfied me as a game, was a fantastic, you know, sequel to a fantastic game to have in my calendar this year. And overall, at the end of the day, Doom was a game that we didn't really believe was going to be that great. You know, we really kind of got our attention at E3 2015, and after a poor multiplayer beta, there wasn't really that much excitement to the game, but after people playing it, seeing reviews and things like that, it really gave me hope to really give this game a go, and I wasn't wrong. Fantastic game, Doom, and it definitely deserves its place on the list.
Nine.
At number 9 is Abzu. Abzu is a game by Giant Squid, which is the people who made Journey, and this is kind of the spiritual successor to Journey, and it's kind of own little world, and it's kind of own little ideas behind it as well. It was kind of like a unique game in its sense. It's only a 2-3 hour experience, not exactly a long game, but it really grabbed a hold of me. I wasn't really around at the time of the big Journey hype, and I couldn't really get into that game when I gave it a go. But Abzu, I don't know what it was, but it just roped me in. I think part of that was its fantastic art style. It was a beautiful made game, you know, fantastic areas when you're diving down and looking into old ancient underwater cities, the looks of the whales, all the fish around and everything like that. It was a truly beautiful game, and one of the most beautiful games of the year by far. Definitely looks like a game that they've taken a lot of care in the aesthetic of it all, and it definitely paid out for me. But again, when I say one of the most beautiful games I've played, but also the mechanics as well of going up and down into the water, really fluently played as well. And also there's this underlining mystery which really got me thinking, and I was fully immersed in the full 3 hour experience that I had with the game. And it's a game that I've definitely gone back and played again, and I've had a great time with it, even the second time I played it, trying to pick new items out, trying to find new little bits of clues to go with the added mystery at the end of the game. If you haven't played Abzu, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you haven't, because a lot of you overlooked it because people were saying it's not as good as Journey in their eyes, I definitely implore you to give it a go. There's a mystery there to be solved. It's a really beautiful game and definitely deserves its place on the list for me.
Great.
Bruce, you can't keep doing this. Step out of the shadows.
At number 8 is the Batman Telltale game by Telltale, as this was really a game that I kind of saw when it came out, when it was announced, at the Game Awards last year, and I was kind of thinking, you know, I'm not too gone on this, I'm not too fantastic about this idea, because we had the Arkham game last year, and I felt that was okay for Batman in video games for a little while, but it kind of really surprised me. You know, it's been a really good year for Batman and Batman v Superman, and now with Telltale, because this is really the first video game that is where you're able to play as Bruce Wayne. You're able to play as really that extra character, you know, that was really responsible for a lot of stuff in the Batman films and in the Batman comic book. So it was fantastic to really play as that. And it's also got a really unique story to it as well, like the whole stuff with Falcone being friends with the Waynes, the parents of Bruce, and having, you know, to find out all the details about what happened in the past and all this kind of stuff. And Penguin's great. It was a really cool idea, the way that they brought Joker into it. Harvey Dent, the different ways that he could go down and becoming Two-Face, or maybe just becoming a schizophrenic. It's really a good idea for a video game in the Batman series, and they've really done a good job with the whole kind of new story that they went with the Batman IP, and I've had a fantastic time playing it. And it's really probably my favourite Telltale game, to be honest with you. I think the way that the choice in the game, probably not the best is other choice-driven games like Until Dawn or Life is Strange, but I just think the story of the game and the reveals that they have at the end of episodes has really been structured well, and they've done a good job of getting the game out quite quickly, as we've had, you know, other Telltale games like the Game of Thrones one or The Wolf Among Us, where the gap between episodes has just been far too long, way too long. So being able to get a game like the Batman Telltale game, which has been able to target to come out before the end of 2016 and succeed that, so you've had a game coming out every month, has worked well. It's worked definitely in its favour. All the episodes have received mid to high reviews, which has been really, you know, a good bar to, you know, to Telltale to aim for, because other than the Tales of the Borderlands game, the last few Telltale games, people have kind of been getting tired of the system and their old engine and how kind of poor it runs. Whereas the Batman Telltale game, they tightened that up for me on PC. It definitely runs better than the Game of Thrones Telltale game. And I think just the way that the story flows is a lot better as well. It really is kind of got that cinematic movie experience to it.
7.
Number 7 is Superhot, which is made by the Superhot team, and this is a game that came out at the beginning of the year, around February time, and it was a game that kind of grabbed me for the whole kind of 15-hour experience of the kind of single-player campaign and a few of the extra levels on the side of it as well. And the reason it did that was because of its mechanics, not because of this kind of weird AI story. But it was such a unique idea that's kind of been made by through a game jam. There was a game jam when they kind of had this idea where time moves when you move, so the game is frozen, but when you take a step forward, then bullets will come towards you, and it's meant to give you that feeling kind of like in an action film where you're dodging bullets and you're picking up weapons and things are thrown to you, and you shoot people all so often, and you throw cool cues across the room, and then you'll be able to see it in full time afterwards. And I think that it really is, you know, solid mechanics, and it's been unique that really kind of sprung up and kind of rose to the top of something that wasn't really talked about before it came out. And it did a really good job of, you know, giving me kind of a new interest in the FPS genre, you know, something like this, because I'm kind of getting a little bit bored of the whole Call of Duty, you know, Titanfall 2 shooting mechanics, you know, the standard first-person shooters. Again, something like this, you know, was kind of like a fun experience inside. It was really, you know, a good idea, and, you know, the gameplay loop of it all didn't really get old for me. You know, I really kind of still enjoyed playing Superhot for a long time, and I'm definitely looking in, you know, interested in, you know, Superhot VR if I ever get a VR game, because Superhot VR would be a fantastic game to get with it, where time moves again when you move, and being able to look around and catch weapons with your hands and things like that. It feels like a solid hit for VR, and I think it's definitely a really good idea. You know, I think we can definitely see how, you know, we can succeed on that, because it succeeded on the everyday systems, and it's something that really kind of caught a lot of people by surprise, and it did a really good job. And I'm definitely looking forward to see what the team behind Superhot, if they go ahead and make another game, because they did a fantastic job with Superhot, and see what different kind of mechanics they can come up with in the new game, because they're definitely very innovative.
6.
The Banner Saga 2. So this is a game by Versus Evil, who are also the guys who made Guild of Dungeoneering this year. And the Banner Saga 2 is a game that I've kind of been looking forward to for quite a while now, for around about a year. As Banner Saga was really, the first one was really one of my favourite games of 2014. It was a fantastic experience. I think it's really because I am a big fan of high fantasy. I'm a big fan of just medieval fantasy as well. So it was kind of the closest experience that I kind of got to one of my favourite franchises, Game of Thrones, in a video game I've kind of ever had. In the way that they drive choice with the people that you bring along with your party. I also love the tactical aspect of the combat, which they've really worked on in Banner Saga 2. And it was something that kind of caught me by surprise, because I was kind of expected to be a similar combat system. But they really worked on the way that, you know, your abilities work. They worked on the way that you can move around on the ground by moving people to different places and things like that, and really kind of setting up the attacks. It becomes more of a strategic aspect than really kind of putting people around enemies and bashing the hell out of them like Banner Saga 1. It became a lot better and a lot more intuitive, and I actually think about what I was going to do in a fight. And that was kind of really the big step forward for Banner Saga 2 for me, because the story, again, was still very strong. The idea of, you know, having these kind of factions again was really cool. I really got into the story of it all, and I will say to anyone, you know, who is a medieval fantasy fan, I would definitely say give the Banner Saga series a go. It's one of my favourite series in the fantasy genre in video games. I think they do a really good job with the kind of political masterclass of the story. And again, if you like Game of Thrones, you'll definitely suit this game. You know, you'll suit the mystery of it all and the whole story and the political aspect of it. I think it was really kind of intuitive for me that pulled me in. Banner Saga 2 kind of took it a step beyond that. You know, made me love the series, really. Because Banner Saga 1 was really, really top game for me. And it's really kind of pushed forward with Banner Saga 2, and it's been a tremendous game, tremendous experience. And I definitely do think, though, that the story is really what is still the strong point of the game. I know that I've said the combat, how they've kind of moved it forward, but it's just the way that they rope you in with that story and the kind of the twists and turns of it all is really a great experience.
Five.
I Am Setsuna. This was a game that was kind of talked about for about a couple of weeks. Quite a lot, actually, by various amount of YouTube channels back in July. And this is a game published by Square Enix, made by Tokyo RPG Factory. And this is a JRPG. It's around about a 40-50 hour game. I played this game quite a lot when it came out, for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I really enjoyed it. Again, it was another unique game that I just didn't really have my eye on, like Absu, Superhot and things like that, that just really kind of surprised me this year. As I Am Setsuna was really JRPGs I'm not into at all, and the reason I gave this a go is because I was watching gameplay and seeing, you know, how the story's made, and people really getting excited about the characters and starting to give it a go, and I really got pulled into it. The kind of Japanese RPG aspects of it are still there. You know, the way that, you know, you move in areas, you're gaining resources, and the way you progress in the story is very Japanese. But I do think that the whole, you know, the kind of the monsters that you fight and things like that aren't really JRPG in my aspect. It's kind of like this nice hybrid between Eastern and Western RPGs, and I think that it really got me kind of interested in looking more towards the Asian culture, because this is kind of like Asian light, if you will, and it kind of worked well. I think the weird and crazy monsters in it is what kind of really is the Japanese kind of aspect of it, and that was, you know, fine. I think it was really cool, especially like, you know, the supersized goats and things like that. A couple of criticisms of the game: there's the really good characters that you meet. There's a lot of good characters that you meet along the way, and they just don't pop up again. You know, they'll say, "I'll be waiting here," and then if you go back to, say, if they're waiting at the house, you go, "I'm going to stay in this lodge," and then you go back to the house and that lodge, and then they're not there, and they don't pop up. That was something that kind of really frustrated me, because I wanted to talk to the characters again. But the boss battles were good. The boss battles are kind of surprising in the way that I think the way that they're kind of intuitive in the mechanics were really cool. I was always throwing new mechanics to kind of keep you on your toes, because there's not really a lot you can do with turn-based at times, but throwing new abilities at you all the time kind of really kept that alive, and I Am Setsuna did that really well in my opinion, especially if you were going around getting a lot of loot and things like that, kind of really boosting your character. And I think that the ending was good as well. The ending was strong. I think that it was kind of like a somber ending as well. I think that, which was kind of what I was really looking for it, because it's quite a somber game. It's a fantastic soundtrack as well. It's up with Doom for my best soundtrack of the year, but for very different ends of the spectrum. You know, it's all piano based. It's all, you know, classical pieces on the piano that are new from that person who wrote the score, and it's really beautiful, and, you know, it really gives you more of an immersive experience. And I've seen it's a fantastic JRPG, and I've definitely really kind of lost a lot of hours to that game this year, and yeah, it was definitely one of my more enjoyable experiences, and could easily be up further up the list.
Four.
Dishonored 2, definitely the most recent game on the list. There's not been too many games toward the end of the year that have kind of really tickled my fancy, if you will, but Dishonored 2 is one of them. You know, Dishonored is a game that I actually played recently. I only played Dishonored, the very first one, around about a month ago now, not that long ago. I played it because, you know, my friend has been bugging me to play it for a long time. I was kind of waiting for the horizon of Dishonored 2 to come so I can play it and then go straight to Dishonored 2. And I was a big fan of Dishonored, so I was definitely ready for Dishonored 2. I played the game as Corvo, really loved it. The missions have definitely gone up a step. I think the way that, you know, some of the levels were, like especially two of them, Clockwork Tower and A Crack in the Slab, have really been done well. Fantastic level design from the guys at Arcane Studios. But, you know, there is a couple of main reasons why I think I probably prefer the first Dishonored more. I think the main reason is the setting. I think the setting of Dunwall is a lot better setting than Karmaka. I think the reason for that is because Dishonored is a plague-driven sea. You know, it's kind of, you know, shit has hit the fan in Dunwall. Whereas with Dishonored 2, it didn't really feel like that. I think, you know, those good reveals in the story, especially with Megan Foster. I don't really want to spoil too much of that. But the way that some of the levels work, the different kind of ideas you can go about it, and how the range of the game is, if you go around full stealth or, you know, full chaos, the different ranges between the playthroughs are extreme, and I think it works really great. The lore in the game is good. They're really built on that again. Finding out about Pandyssius is kind of really the areas of the lore that I'm kind of really interested in. I think I found a lot to read upon, and I really enjoyed, you know, kind of going through the lore and kind of seeing where we're going to go in the game, try and predict what's going to happen later on, and talking to old characters as well, like Sokolov and things like that. I really enjoyed that experience, and Dishonored 2 didn't disappoint me. If anything, kind of exceeded expectations, because I was kind of expecting it to be the same game. With the combat it is, but the level design is really what they've done a fantastic job with, and they haven't really been getting a lot of credit about that, because they had a botched PC launch, which I think has kind of been overstated. I think it hasn't been as bad as what people are kind of calling out to. I think people are just kind of looking for something to kind of pick apart. But the game definitely is fantastic, and people definitely need to go and give it a go, because it's such a tremendous experience.
Three.
At number 3, it's Ratchet & Clank, and Ratchet & Clank is a game that's brought back by Insomniac. I wasn't a part of the Ratchet & Clank kind of player base back when it was originally a thing about 5-6 years ago. I wasn't really playing these kind of games back then, and so Ratchet & Clank was kind of a new thing for me, and it really got me. I was not excited for this game at all, but I had a PS4 at the time, and I was just looking for something to play, to be honest with you, and my god, it really got me. And me and my friend played through the game, and we had a fantastic time playing through it. Insomniac did a really good job crafting the game completely. It came out as well. It was not too long before Uncharted 4 came out, so it was kind of really well to kind of stand on its own. But bringing it back and making that kind of action-oriented platformer, which is, I believe, is what they were originally like, but they really did a good job with that. It's a really funny game as well. The game is like a Pixar movie, which any game that does that is always going to get plus points in my eyes. I think that the way that they was able to bring back, you know, a lot of the original kind of ideas and kind of mechanics of the game and really work on them and develop them, I think did a great job. And I'm also going to say it's the most beautiful game I played this year, which is kind of like a big statement, especially with games like, you know, Absolute coming out this year that I've already said. But the art style and the way it looked just looked fantastic to me. The view distance on the PS4 looked great. I think the whole game was extremely beautiful, and some of the most incredible levels that I played. I had more fun with this game, I would say, than any other game I played this year. And the reason for that is how fun the characters are. And it really drove home, you know, really what I love about both Pixar movies and kind of games like this in general is the fun aspect of them. Because not too many games are fun, and games don't have to be fun anymore. But it was nice, you know, just to get this, you know, in the midst of, you know, kind of dull experiences coming out, you know, kind of dull and drooly games like, you know, you know, The Division and Far Cry Primal and things like that were kind of coming out around this time. And getting this, you know, to come out and really stand out on its own, you know, kind of be a fun experience, really grabbed me, and I had a lot of fun playing that game. I put around about 30 hours into that game, and it was a really, really good experience.
Two.
At number 2, it's Overwatch. This was a game, that was definitely highly anticipated and definitely was expected by a lot of people to do well. And it came out, early May, after I had a long, lengthy beta where people were dying to get into the game, and they definitely was able to, really succeed the fans' expectation and really drove from a fantastic first-person shooter. I didn't get on the Overwatch hype back in the when it first came out. I've only been playing the game for around about a month now, and it's the game I've definitely played the most over this last month, and it's been a tremendous experience. It's a fantastic first-person shooter, because I'm not really in, again, like I say, the first-person shooter genre, but I think the way that they have innovative skills and characters in the game. The characters are truly tremendous, and they've got really good lore around them. Chris Metzen has done a fantastic job with that, and I think the way that how balanced it is as well. Which is kind of a way that I think is a big way to commend Blizzard in this idea, because there's so many different characters in the game. There's so many different abilities that all the characters have got. It's kind of really difficult to kind of balance that, which is some part of me kind of thinks that MOBs have got a really hard time doing that, but it just seems to kind of be a really hard place to drive. They've had some problems with it in the past, especially with characters like May and Sombra, but they're able to to really work on it and make it kind of an overall fun experience. And the way it just flows and the art style and kind of how quick the game's going, quick play, I think is a way that helps it as well. Really drives home of how special this first-person shooter is. And Overwatch is a game that won Game of the Year at Game Awards. I couldn't quite give it number 1, but I could totally believe why people would give it the number 1. But I just think that it's a fantastic game that I've definitely been playing for years to come. It's a game that I'll always be going back into every single day, just to get a couple of games in. And I think that is a really big commendation of why Overwatch deserves to be on the list. And at number 1, I think a lot of you who watch the podcast would have been able to guess this, and it is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End by Naughty Dog. Fantastic game. I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted franchise. It's one of my favourite franchises. I'm a complete I love the franchise. I absolutely adore it. I love the story. I love Drake as a character. Big fan of Elena Fisher. She's probably my favourite female character in a video game ever. I love Sully. I love Sam, the way they introduced Sam in the game as well. I think they really made him a new character and a really important character to the franchise, even though he's only been in one game. And I also had glaring omissions of characters as well. There's no Chloe in the game. And there's no cutter, and I thought they were, really kind of big misses, but it worked. They didn't need to be there, and I'm definitely interested to see how, Chloe features in Lost Legacy, the DLC. But Uncharted 4 is my favourite Uncharted game and my favourite game of the year. The reason being is because the whole mystery around Henry Avery and Thomas 2, the whole pirate treasure and adventure, finding out that story really grabbed me, and I think that is kind of really surprising for me when I look back at how I played this game. And it's because I was looking, into the game before when I was really getting excited about it, and I was looking into the relationship of Sam and Drake and how that's going to play out, and how the relationship between Elena and Drake is going to play out. And I was always really interested in how, going into the game, and I was looking at that. But what really grabbed me and what really stuck with me is the whole story with Henry Avery and Thomas 2, and the whole twists and turns of that pirate storyline and what happened back in 1694 to 1699 or whatever, that period of time. It was truly tremendous, absolutely tremendous to kind of find out what was going on. Going over to Libertalia, the set pieces as well were incredible, with the clock tower and also with, the cars in Madagascar and things like that. Great, really, really beautiful game. And I think the story of the game as well really grabbed that at home, because there's so many different storylines as well that really grabbed you. And there's good reveals in it. Great ending as well. I'm not going to really spoil what happens, but that very, very last chapter was great. I think the game really kicks on once you get to Libertalia. The game is great in Scotland and great in Madagascar, but once you get to Libertalia, it really goes up a gear. And yeah, I had a fantastic time with this game. I've played the game twice now this year. I'll definitely be playing it a lot more in the years to come. Definitely going back to it over and over again, because I just absolutely adored it. And Naughty Dog knocked it out of the park. It's my favourite Naughty Dog game that I've ever played. I think that the reason for that as well is because they was able to keep the characters as strong people. They kept them to be entertaining and enjoyable to play as. And the way that they did the combat needs work, especially when it comes down to And the shooting mechanics, I don't really enjoy the shooting mechanics of them. But I will say that what I do enjoy about them, is the climbing areas. I think sneaking around in them was fun. I know people, gave them crap about, the dodgy AI. But I just think that, especially the mission in Madagascar, when you've got the tower in the middle and you're sneaking around picking people off, and then a whole hell breaks loose. That was fun to play as. And I think the way that they organised the fights as well, of not being too long, like they were in Uncharted 2, I think really, strengthened it. Because in Uncharted 2, the fights just kept going and going and going and going. Whereas in this, they didn't. They really kind of got to the puzzles, got to the climbing areas, and it worked well for that. And, going into the story of Uncharted is, truly incredible experience in my eyes. And I think I gave it to anyone, literally anyone, even if they don't like video games, to just play the Uncharted games, because I think they can be enjoyed by everyone. It's the closest thing to Indiana Jones that we've got in the video game series, and it's truly enjoyable. So, thanks a lot for watching this list of the top 10 games of the year. I've got 4 more lists to be coming out as well over the next few weeks. I've got surprises, disappointments, worst games of the year, and also most anticipated, so there's a lot to be coming out over the near future. So hopefully you go over and check those out by subscribing to the channel, putting on your notifications. Go over to Twitter as well, follow me at Degorasi, I'll be talking more over there if you want to keep up to date with my thoughts and ideas and things like that. Like the video, and also leave the comments, what are your top games of the year? Do you have a top 10, your top 5? Leave what games you really enjoyed this year. I want to really find out, what you've enjoyed. I want to find out, what you've liked, and I'm definitely interested to see, what's really going to be gravitating to the top, especially amongst, the subscriber base that I've got on my channel, because there's not really been a lot of RPGs coming out this year, so I'll definitely be interested to see what you're going to say. So, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.